Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. My name is Sergey and I'm the owner of NinaVova Custom Jewelry. We make custom engagement rings and the wedding bands here in Los Angeles. And in today's video, I want to talk about the difference between the emerald cut and the princess cut. In the previous video, check it out somewhere right over here in the description below. We've talked about different cuts and shapes that suits the best for the different gemstones. And if you haven't seen this video, I would highly recommend you to start with it. But in this specific video, we're going to be talking about the difference between the emerald cut and the princess cut, and why you might want to ask yourself this question, why you might want to start the process of choosing between one or another. So let's imagine you started with the engagement ring process, with the process of creating the custom engagement ring. And while creating the design, you figured out that you actually want to have the rectangular shape of the stone or the square shape of the stone. But then you would ask yourself a question, or your jeweler probably going to ask you a question, what kind of cut do you want? Do you want the emerald cut, or you want the princess cut, or maybe something else? And that's quite a confusing question by itself, although it's pretty common. So in order to not just pick whatever sounds the best for us, let's take a look at each cut. And I'm going to tell you ups and downs of each of them, and for what gemstones they would suit the best. So let's start with the emerald cut. First of all, that's the drawing of the emerald cut. I mean, of course, it's not ideal, but basically what you want to know that the emerald cut is basically a step cut. What does it mean? It means that all facets are parallel to the girdle of the stone, and the girdle of the stone, that's the widest part of the stone itself. And it called the step cut because it's the actual steps. So they just go as the stairs like that from the bottom to the top, and the light reflecting from these steps. And because of that, you have quite a large window right over here. And that's a positive thing, and in some cases, it's a negative thing. But let me talk about it a little bit later. First of all, why you might want to choose this design. Well, if you design your engagement ring in a contemporary style or the Art Deco or just a minimalistic style itself, and you want to have the elegant and understated stone, that's the one you're gonna go for. The other thing you want this type of cut, you might want to have as much light inside of the stone, and you want to see as much of the stone itself. That's why this cut is pretty popular, and it actually was created for the emerald itself, because the emerald itself is pretty dark as a stone, and you want to have as much light as possible. This cut is also fits very good for aquamarine, the morganites, and topazes. But because of this large window, this window is this part basically right over here. It has a slight issue, and the issue is that you're going to see the inclusions very, very well. In the emerald case, it's not the issue actually, because you want to see the beauty of the natural stone. You want to see the beauty of the inclusions. But for example, if you would choose this cut for the natural diamond and there is inclusions inside of the stones, you're going to see them very, very clearly. At the same time, as I mentioned before, this type of cut is going to work very good for aquamarine and morganite and topaz, because in general, these stones are pretty clear by itself. I also want to mention that is, of course, the matter of personal preference. In my case, for example, that's my absolute favorite cut. I love it in all of the designs. I'm trying to not use it on all of my personal designs, but I'm really a fan of it. I'm really a fan of the Art Deco era. It's pretty close to my style. I mean, it is my style. And if you create your custom engagement rings for the specific person, you should look at this person and see what is their preferences. And that is something that they share. How can you know that? For example, their eyes become twice bigger when they enter in the Palm Springs and see an old architect or anything like that. Or they going to MoMA Museum or LACMA. So that's naturally going to give you a clue that this person going to be into that type of stone. So let's talk about the second cut. Let's talk about the princess cut over here. And you got it, the violet color after the prince. Princess cut, relatively new. When the emerald cut got introduced in 1930s, I think, somewhere there. The princess cut, 1970s, 1960s, depending on where you're looking at. Basically, what it is, it's the combination of the square or rectangular shape and the brilliant cut. And because of that, you will see lots of little facets here and there, and you're going to see lots of sparks. It's just pretty natural for the brilliant cut. Also, this cut's going to hide your inclusions much better. And as I mentioned previously, on the emerald cut, if you have the inclusions, you definitely want them to be somewhere on the side, so they would be less visible, or you would want to hide them with the prongs. On the princess cut, you don't have to be that cautious. Of course, you want to keep an eye on them, but they are much less visible. Also, two very good things that princess cut in general looks bigger than the rest of the cuts in a similar weight. And again, the carats refer to the weight, not to the size of the stone. And it's also more affordable as well. What is the downsides of this cut specifically? Besides that, it could not be your style, but again, it's not the issue. It's the matter of the personal preference. For me personally, the main issue is that it doesn't really work for the dark gemstones. For example, for the emerald, it would naturally create the dark spots on the stone. And I will attach a couple of photos that you can see right now on the screen. But in the brilliant cut and in the princess cut as well, you're going to see the dark spots on that type of stones. The other issue, not that big of the issue, but still, you're going to have a pretty sharp edges right over here, and you will have to protect them with the prongs. So you have to be very mindful of that. And I know there is a misconception out there that, let's say, it's impossible to break the diamond or the sapphire or anything because they are up high there on the Mohs scale. It's not really true. They are scratch resistant if they stand 8, 9, 10 on a Mohs scale, but you still can easily break them. You would not believe how easy you can break the diamond, or you can break this edges right over here. So you definitely want to keep that in mind, and you want to protect it. I've seen, unfortunately, the designs where the sides are not protected, but it's just not well put together settings, and you definitely would want to avoid that. So now you can see clearly the difference between the emerald cut and the princess cut. I know most of the times it's going to be the matter of the personal preference. You just got to look at the emerald cut and you'll be like, hey, that's perfect. I love it. Or you're going to look at the complex edges of the complexity of the princess cut, and you'll be like, wow, yes, I want this cut specifically. Also, your engagement ring can sometimes dictate the design or dictate the cut of the stone itself. For example, for the princess cut, if you're going for the Chanel prongs, and if you are going for Guys engagement rings, for example, that's pretty common case to use the princess cut. It just looks pretty good with that type of designs. And at the same time, as I mentioned, if you go in for the Art Deco design, yes, emerald cut just screams Art Deco. And if you would combine with the basil setting, it's going to look just incredible. And especially with the combination of the yellow gold. But again, that's might be my preference. This might be not your preference specifically. But now you know a little bit better which one to choose. If you still have the questions, let me know in the comments or shoot me an email. I'll be always glad to help you. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.